Welcome to the latest episode as we zoom in on the Jaguars here today. I'm Dr. Jeff Sherman from the School of Health and Human Sciences at Iupui, and with me today is Iupui women's soccer sophomore forward slash midfielder. I'm guessing she plays both roles, Alex Ludolph. Alex, how are you today?
I'm good. We had a nice weights workout this morning. The snow wasn't too bad. It's supposed to get a bunch today, but we made it there safely. So ready to share my story today.
Well, the next couple of days ought to be interesting when it comes to the
Yeah.
snow. So, all right, well, let's just go ahead and dive in. Let's get started. So, you went to Vernon Hills High School in Illinois.
Yeah.
So, what brought you to IUPUI?
Mostly soccer. Coach came and watched me play in a couple of showcases and reached out to me, and I came on a couple of visits. Absolutely loved it. Campus is great. I love being so close to downtown Indy. And mostly it was coach, and I would say the girls on the team are just phenomenal. Coach does a great job of recruiting girls who are all very similar. We're all very hardworking. We love soccer. We're good in the classroom. So the team environment is what really brought me here and made me fall in love with the school as well.
So, it was that whole recruiting process, or how did that go? A lot of people don't. A lot of young people don't talk about the process of recruiting, right? You came here a couple of times and you just kind of drifted into the campus, right? You kind of
Mhm.
liked it. I'd hate to say fell in love, right? I don't necessarily like that cliche,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
tell us a little bit about that process.
Yeah, it's tough, and I feel like people don't talk about it. I feel like for soccer especially, it's a sport that you get recruited pretty young for the most part. I committed here the fall of my junior year of high school. And I mean, at that point, you're 17 years old to really know what you want for the rest of your college career is kind of a lot of weight to put on someone's shoulders. But I think that the process for the most part is pretty smooth. It's definitely a lot of work because I feel like you need to be reaching out to coaches. You got to be making game films, highlight videos, sending emails. It's a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it. And the people who want to be playing in college will put that work in for sure.
So, I guess my experience as an older person
Mhm.
was a little different than yours. Has yours, and this could be for the whole generation, right? Has your experience, was it more you had to initiate the discussion? The Is that what happens now compared to like when I was in high school and they either found you or they didn't?
Yeah, I feel like especially with soccer because it's shifted to be such a club dominant sport that like no coaches ever came and watched me play in high school, which I think that it used to be that way a lot where coaches would come watch you play in high school, but now I'm gonna send out an email. Here is my game schedule. Here are the showcases that we will be visiting, the times and locations that we'll be playing. Hopefully you can come out and watch me play. Here's some highlights of me. I would think that it definitely starts off a lot with the athletes reaching out to coaches and programs. Hopefully they come out to see you play. If they like you, then it becomes more of the back and forth.
I did not know that. That
Yeah.
is good to know that you guys, well, you got technology now. When I was
Yeah.
growing up, we didn't have the technology of being able to share game film. You had to cut and splice and
Yeah.
tape together, for crying out loud. I'm a little bit older, so that kind of answers that question. But okay, so you talked about how the team itself and the academics, right?
Mhm.
Tell me what's your major?
I am an environmental science major. So I actually started off in engineering, which is another reason that I like this school because you get a Purdue degree, and I would be getting a Purdue engineering degree, which is super sought after. But I didn't end up really liking it, and I switched to environmental science because more of what I'm passionate about is sustainability and the environment, and so it's definitely been a much better fit for me.
So what about that w- I guess environmental science, right? You talked about
Mhm.
sustainability, things like that. How is that kind of added to your experience at IUPUI? I mean, what have you been involved in? How do you get involved in that field physically during your college career?
Yeah, so I've done a couple of projects, especially for I'm in honors college as well, and we have to do a project every semester. So some of the things I've done is like last semester I did it was called like a tiny trash pickup, and so I went for a couple hours and I walked around White River and picking up garbage that just gets left behind. I took pictures of it. Filled out like a whole spreadsheet, and they actually record all that data and make sure that all of those materials get put into the right place so the recyclables get recycled, things like that. So that's like one of the things that I've done. For the most part, I mean, I'm sure there's clubs that I can be involved in, but with soccer, it's pretty busy. So
So have you thought about trying to get involved with something like the NCAA? I know the NCAA has got a push for its events to be, 100% sustainable,
yeah,
you
so
know.
actually last year before we got sent home, I wrote a grant application to get money to start a recycling program in Michael Carroll Stadium because they don't have any recycling. And so I went through the whole process of writing a grant application, going to a board meeting with the sustainability people on campus. And then because of COVID, they couldn't get the funding for the grants. So it kind of got shut down. So I'm hoping that I will get to reapply to do that. But that was something that I kind of worked hand in hand with Coach about because he's also super into sustainability and the environment, trying to make things green. And it's like we got on practice and there's water bottles all over the field and you just have to pick them up and you can either take them home and recycle them, which is what me and Coach do, or they get thrown in the garbage can, which kind of stinks. So it's definitely something that
Absolutely.
hopefully I can get going again.
Wow, that's that brings attention to a matter on campus that maybe could be worked on, right? So you said COVID affected your grant. How else has this pandemic, I guess, altered you, and how have you responded to the changes in this normal life that I guess we call it the new normal? But how is it? I guess how has it affected you, and what types of things have you done to kind of keep yourself in that normal thought process?
Yeah. So for me, COVID has kind of been, I don't want to say a blessing, but I had another surgery over the summer. And
Oh,
so
we'll get into that in a
yeah,
second.
I was already in the headspace of I'm gonna miss this fall no matter what happens. So honestly, it was kind of a good thing for me because I didn't get to miss out on a full season. And even though we're starting to play more games now, it's not the same as being in a full season. So I feel like it's been good for me, especially with trying to make sure that I'm not rushing myself to come back on the field because we can get into it, but I've been through a lot with soccer and it's been nice to kind of things are a bit more relaxed. It gives me the headspace that I need to fully recover, get back to where I want to be before stepping back onto the field.
How about on the social aspect? How about, that sort of stuff? What have you done, I guess, to make yourself have a new normal or keep yourself in that in that normal mindset socially?
Yeah, me and my roommates are all really close. So I live with three other girls in the team. We play a lot of cards together, watch movies, we make dinners together. So it's been nice to just kind of hang out, the four of us together. We get to hang out with the other girls on the team as well. It's just being a bit more careful of making sure that we're wearing our masks and not seeing, we don't really see anyone for the most part outside of the team. So it's just been, I feel like it's brought me and my roommates together for sure a lot closer.
So have you spent a lot of time with online classes, or has it been kind of a hybrid? Have you had to go face to face?
This semester, my schedule, I have 5 asynchronous courses, so I don't have to do anything for them. I don't have to be on live Zooms. I don't have to go into campus. The only thing that I have on campus is I have one lab a week for earth materials. So it's been kind of nice that I get to kind of do my own thing and figure out my own schedule and work when I want to work on certain things. So it's definitely going to be an adjustment. We keep talking about when we go back to all in face-to-face learning, it's going to be an adjustment just like it was to move all online.
Yeah, it's gonna be odd to get back into the classroom. I'm looking forward to it, but it's going to be odd, an
Yeah,
odd feeling to leave your
yeah,
living room and now head into the classrooms again.
yeah.
So, okay, so let's shift over to soccer. You talked a little bit about injuries, and it sounds to me as if you're brief career at IUPUI has kind of been cut a little short with injury. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I have a very, I would say love-hate relationship with soccer. I love it because it's brought me the team. It makes me super happy when I can play, but it's also taken away quite a lot from me. Um, I've had 5 surgeries in the past 5 years-ish. So, my sophomore year of high school, I had chronic, like, ankle sprains, and one game I just rolled it and it just tore a bunch of the ligaments in it. So I had an ankle reconstruction surgery my sophomore year of high school, which wasn't bad. That was actually, I consider it to be my best surgery because I've never had a single problem with it since then. I can't even roll it. It's so tight that it doesn't even roll. So it's
That's
pretty
got to be
awesome.
a good feeling knowing that,
Yeah,
oh, I don't even have to worry about that one.
yeah, it's great. And then my junior year of high school, I tore my ACL, which is my first like big surgery where I was out for a long time. It was super tough on me mentally to get to a place where I was happy with and trying to find my new identity without soccer because I was out for, it took me 10 months to get back onto the field and just figuring out what kind of person I am outside of the game. And it was hard, but I'm so grateful that even though these things have happened to me and they suck, they've definitely formed who I am today and given me this super hard work ethic that I feel like I implement in most aspects of my life. And then from there, I came back from ACL. A year later, I tore my ACL, both my meniscuses. I had partial tears to my MCL and my LCL. I just shattered it. So it took me a while to come back. And then a year later, I tore more cartilage in my knee, had to have another surgery. A year later, had more cartilage tears, had to have, and that was the year coming into IUPUI. So I didn't make it back until about mid-season last year for my freshman year. And it was tough because the adjustment to play college soccer, it's faster, it's more physical. And the other freshmen got that time to adjust at the beginning of the season, preseason. And I was coming in the height of our season when things are the most hardcore, practices are the most intense. And so it was super frustrating for me to not be where I wanted to be and be kind of stuck in the middle of everyone else being in a great place. But I worked really hard and I got to play a good amount of minutes. And then in the spring, our first spring game, I actually played for the first time in a long time. I remember stepping off the field and being like, I remember like I know how to play soccer again and feeling really good about it. And then of course, the end of the game, I'm like, my knee is really bothering me
Oh
right now.
no.
And so then I had torn more cartilage. So I had basically gotten to a point where I was like rubbing bone on bone because I had
Oh,
nothing left. And so this summer, I'm hoping this is going to be the final fix. I had a cartilage transplant surgery. So I went on a donor list and I got someone else's cartilage in my knee now. And I'm on month 7 of recovery from that. So I've got next month I can start running, which is a huge milestone that I'm very much looking forward to because it's been a long time. But I'm hoping that this spring is just going to be some more time for me to figure out what I'm doing, get myself strong. I've been lifting in the weight room a lot, trying to work on my fitness as much as I can, not being able to run, but I'm excited to be able to run. And then hopefully I'll be on the tail end of the spring season. I'm not going to be playing games, but just to get back in the field, to be practicing around the girls, getting touches on the ball. So that's basically my story of my chronic injuries.
there's so many directions that I can take that. I could make
Yeah.
this an hour-long discussion, right? So 10 months you got back from an ACL.
Yeah.
That in and of itself is virtually miraculous. How did you do that? How does a person go from a devastating injury, something like that? And when I was growing up, that injury put you on the shelf for a minimum a year.
Yeah.
And you're back in 10 months. Like you're back at on the field in 10 months.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
I just I feel like I was raised very hardworking and grit is very much emphasized in my family. You just grind. And so that's kind of what I did is I did my PT as much as I could. I did as much as I could possibly do without pushing myself where I was going to be worse off if I kept going further. Um, Mostly the physical parts of it were actually easier than the mental parts of it, for sure. I definitely got to be in a pretty dark place recovering from that injury. And like I said, just trying to find who I was without soccer.
Has it been that way with every portion of this, I guess, series of injuries? Because somewhere along the way they're all connected, right?
Yeah,
Except for the ankles. The ankle may not be connected to the
yeah,
knee, right?
yeah.
But all of these knee things are connected. And how was it? You said you went into a dark place after the ACL because you didn't know what it was like without the game.
Mhm.
But did that continue as you've gone along? Did you fall into that rut with every time, or how did you find your way out of that rut? And how do you not go back to it?
Yeah. I think that I haven't been in that same place, I don't think, since my other knee surgeries. I think that was kind of a low point for me, and I figured it out and I got through it, and it's been able to kind of be a stepping stool for me to keep going and keep pushing myself so I can get back onto the field. I mean, people ask me when I tell them my story all the time, like, why do you keep doing it to yourself? And I think just for me, I want to prove to myself that one, I can play soccer like I remember I used to be able to, and prove to everyone else that I do belong here. Because for them, my teammates, they've seen me play, I don't know, a couple of games, maybe a couple months worth of practicing, but like they've never seen me play the way that I know I'm capable of playing. And so I think that those are two big things that have helped me and kind of driven me to keep going. Um, but yeah, it's definitely been easier. Every recovery has been easier for me mentally, even though physically there's definitely some low points. Like right now, I'm kind of stuck I've been in the same place in my recovery for the past couple of months just because I can't add the running and the jumping in there yet. So it's getting to be a very routine kind of place where I'm at right now. And it's hard because there's not those big milestones that you reach and you're like, okay, I got there. Let's move on to the next one. So I've just kind of been stuck a little, which has been difficult, but I think I'm just trying to grind through it and get to the other side.
So mentally with that wall, how
Mhm,
do you overcome how are you overcoming it now? So you talked about that you don't have the milestones right now.
mhm.
And so how have you been able to overcome those that lack of milestones right now?
Yeah, I've just been
Like,
trying to put milestones, I guess, in other places. So in the weight room, like I'm trying to push myself. I keep track of the weights that I'm lifting, the days. Like I have a schedule of what I want to be doing every single day. So I've kind of just transferred that over into the weight room as well as in the classroom. I feel like I'm just trying to be like, okay, well, if I'm not playing soccer right now and I can't be the best at that right now, I'm going to be my best self in the classroom. So those two things I think I'm trying to push myself, as well as like with my friendships and working on being around the team and just finding happiness, I guess, in other parts of my life, which is what it's about. It's not all about soccer. So I think that that's been helpful as well.
sounds like that's been half the battle for most of your career is trying to find, I guess, the silver lining in the bad storm. I guess I
Yeah.
don't know how else to put it. I mean, it's been quite the journey that you've had.
Yeah.
So you got a spring season coming up that is I guess you could call it is the fall season, but
Yeah.
it's in the spring since this pandemic hit. How do you think the team is responding since you're not going to be on the field this spring, right? How do you feel that they're refocusing and responding to something that was completely out of their control, shutting down their whole season,
Mhm.
and then now coming back and playing at a time when you've got 2 feet of snow on the ground at times. You're going to have rain. You're going to have the change in weather like crazy. You don't normally have that heading into winter as
No.
much as you do heading out of it.
Yeah.
So it's weird to think about the change. But how do you think they're refocusing and responding?
The team I think is doing really well, actually. I mean, I don't know if he told you or not, but we're in quarantine right now because we had a positive on the team. So we've had to cancel a couple of games. But that's just, I mean, everyone's going through it. You look at any sports team here in our conference, bigger conferences like the Big Ten. I mean, every team is going through what we're going through. And so I think that it's just finding those silver linings and finding those things. Like we've talked multiple times on the team about what we want our season to be like. And because we could do a complete, you stay in your cohorts, you don't see other people, super serious, we're going to play games, we're going to do as much as we can to eliminate as much risk as possible so we can be playing games. And the team has kind of decided that we want to be around each other, and that soccer is more than just playing the games, but it's about the relationships. And I think especially for all of the seniors, and this is their last year, the relationships that we make on this team last way longer than just the 4 years that we're here physically playing soccer. And so for them, I think that they also wanted to leave behind something that meant something to the people who are going to continue playing here. And that's that our team is very much revolved around the relationships that we formed. And so I think that that's kind of how we found a refocus in it, in that we still want to be playing games and we're going to be trying to do everything we can, but we're going to keep doing the team aspect and that family aspect together.
So what about the program? I guess if you're sitting on the shelf for a couple of games, what do you think? What do you think this team is bringing to the table this spring as far as competition wise?
Yeah, I think that this team is, I mean, talking to the upperclassmen, they think that this is a really strong team. And I would agree. I think that we have a lot of talent and a lot of capability to be able to go far and maybe get a ring this season. So I think that it's exciting, the opportunity that we have in front of us. It's just going to be how the dice roll and how many games we're going to get to play. And hopefully that when we get out of this, I think we're done Friday and we get back to being all together, that we can stay together for the rest of the season and we can hopefully not get any more cases. But I think that it's kind of been a step back for us since we've been put on the sidelines to realize like what we really want out of this season.
Wow. Big statement. Well, thank you, Alex, for sitting down and talking with me here today, and look forward to seeing what you can bring to the table. Hopefully maybe next season.
Yeah.
Right.
Fall.
When we get to fall, right.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we can see what you can do next fall, and hopefully we can get you off the injury shelf and make sure that you stay healthy for the rest of your time with us. Thank you for joining us here today, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you at the next one.